Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Today is a very, very cool episode. It's a little bit of a longer one, pushing about an hour. But anyway, Brad from Glovebox Detail gave a phenomenal story. A ton of nuggets in here. So if you have time or if it's going to take you a couple days, definitely try to listen to the whole thing. A couple things to talk about before we get started. Glovebox Detail is a monthly subscription service. And one thing we did not talk about in the episode is when you get to the end and you listen to it, if you do want to sign up for their service, they're offering 30% off of your first box when you sign up for the subscription. So 30% off of the monthly subscription on your first box. All you have to do is use code Jimbo. So go to gloveboxdetail.com, use code Jimbo. You're going to save 30% on your first box, which makes the first box like literally nothing. And so also one thing Brad and his partner wanted to make sure to get across in this little intro before we get into the episode is this makes a super cool gift. So I know we're getting close to Christmas and the holidays, all that, but if you have kind of that person in your life that you're not sure what to get, but they're kind of into their car, consider a subscription box of detailing stuff. And it's crazy because I'm not lying, and I'm being honest when I talk in this episode that I was super skeptical, if I could get my words out. Sorry, just talked for over an hour with Brad. I was very skeptical about this box because I'd gotten some in the past and they honestly sucked. And so when I met Brad and his partner at SEMA, I was kind of like, okay, yeah. And they're like, we'll send you a box. I'm like, all right. And I'll just be totally transparent. I wasn't that hot on it. Then he sent it and it freaking wowed me. Their attention to detail is incredible. So if you do give this as a gift, rest assured that it comes looking very proper and very nice and very detail oriented. So consider that. Brad wanted me to get that across. Other than that, we have the Detailer Inner Circle that's popping off like crazy. If you have any questions about it, feel free to DM me, reach out to me. We have a whole texting platform. I just saw in a Facebook group someone asking about how to ask for referrals and not referrals, ask for reviews in your detailing business. We had a whole conversation, a whole private podcast about it because I do 2 additional Q&A podcasts per month with Pete on the line as well, along with all the other access, all the other trainings. The Google Ads training is included in it. It's crazy the value we have in the Detailer Inner Circle. So while we're on the topic of gifts, if you're looking to buy yourself a gift that will really elevate your detailing business in 2019 and beyond, consider signing up for the Detailer Inner Circle. Let's get into this episode with Brad from Glovebox Detail. All right, so welcome to episode 364 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and today I'm excited to have Brad Mills on the show from Glovebox Detailing. We're going to talk about his detailing subscription box that you can order. That's fantastic later. But what I really want to get across as well as that is his history in detailing. Has been in it about as long as I have, 10 years. So Brad, welcome to the Auto Detailing Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And first off, did you say 364?
364. Yep.
Man, that's awesome. Congrats. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. And we had a great time. We actually met at SEMA for the first time. I think I had seen Glovebox around. I think there's been a few in the past, and maybe we'll touch on that, kind of maybe where you saw kind of a gap in the market or whatever. But we met at SEMA, had a good chat, and then more recently had an additional chat after you were nice enough to send me out a couple boxes, which I was like, well, we'll get into that later. Let's talk about I have so much I want to talk about. Sometimes I go down rabbit trails and get the cart before the horse. So before we get into that, I think it's always important to kind of there's a lot of guys jumping into the detailing industry, some guys that have been in it for a long time. And so I really like to kind of lay the groundwork and the foundation of kind of being as relatable as possible, right? Because sometimes us as detailers that have been in it for a while forget how difficult it is, or how difficult it was when we started, and kind of take the info that we've gained over the years for granted. And so I kind of like to reverse the role, or reverse the tape, kind of go back to the beginning, start from the beginning, and let that be our foundation. So can you take us back to, where did the idea to start a detailing business even come from? How did you start detailing? Like, take us to the very, very beginning.
Sure. So before I start that, just to say, I hope that my story isn't like anybody else's, because it doesn't start from a really good place. Prior to detailing, I was working for the family moving company, moving furniture for 13 years. Super hard work. Nobody likes moving, and I did that for 13 years and somehow survived. So I thought that was kind of the path for my life. My father owned a moving company. My uncles owned a moving company, 2 separate companies. And I thought, you know what, this is just what my family does. So that's what I started doing as soon as while I was in high school, but really taking it serious once I got out of high school. My younger brother was helping me. He was still in high school at the time, so weekends or after school, helping me move families, apartments, and all that such. And we had a plan for when he got out of high school that we would kind of start diving in deeper to the moving company and take it over. My brother graduated, and unfortunately he went to celebrate with his friends like we do when we graduate high school, and he passed away in a drunk driving accident.
Oh, no.
So that really took a step back for me, and a lot of internal stuff I was dealing with. I'm one of those people that kind of just hold it in, and when I'm by myself, then it's like, I can let go. But
did you say you were older or younger than him? Well, I'm assuming older.
Older.
Okay,
older.
Got it.
Yeah, this was in 2005. He was 18.
Got it.
So he was my younger brother. And then, so I found myself washing the moving trucks a lot, washing the trailers a lot. And I've always been a really clean person and love to be organized. But I was like, man, this is like, when I'm doing this, I can escape all this heartache, everything life is throwing at me, right? Like, this is my detail therapy session. And I thought to myself, well, I have to make a decision. This is something that I can't do anymore with my brother. So why don't I do detailing? This makes me happy. And, I did a bunch of different things in between there. And then I was like, okay, started the detailing company. And I started the detail company by still doing the moving at the same time, because brand new company, there's a lot of expenses and you don't have as much volume as you want. So that's really kind of how it started. And, like I said right before I started talking about that, I hope that's not the story for anybody else ever. But it just was my story, and I'm grateful that I was able to really connect with that detail therapy part, because there's a lot of people out there, as you know, Jimbo. We talked about this a little bit the other day. Like, when you're washing your car, like, after a crazy week or a crazy vacation or something, like, that's your time to escape. And I kind of look for that feeling all the time, and I think that's why I've done so well over the years. But anyways, so I started the detailing. The first thing was neighbors, friends, dealerships wanted that volume. Didn't want the price point they offered, though. So
isn't that the truth?
A lot of dealership stuff.
That's like,
oh my gosh,
that's like the I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but it seems like that's kind of the path that everyone goes to, right? Is like either the dealerships or corporate office buildings, right? It's like that's It's so funny how the way into detailing is vastly different for people, and it's unfortunate that was your way into detailing. But it seems like once we get into it, most guys go for the same thing. It's like dealerships, office buildings.
Yeah. And they're I know some people that do that as full time.
Absolutely.
For their detailing company.
Yep.
And you can crush it. You can crush it in that market.
You can.
I think what made me not want to continue to do that is, and when you do that, you are volume focused. You can still absolutely give quality, but you have to be so fast. you got to be pumping those cars out, especially at dealerships, because they don't have time to wait. So I just knew for me personally, I couldn't do that. I just wanted to take more time. I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I hate to use the word high end, but I did want to do like more high end work and just not be on a time crunch and be able to be happy once that car was finished, giving it back to the client or the dealership or whoever.
I mean, not to mention if you're still operating a moving company at the same time, you've quickly chosen the two hardest or most manually taxing things to do between moving and dealership stuff.
Yeah. And I'm super grateful for it, because I think going through that at a young age and learning what hard work really is paved the foundation for me today. Like when we were doing long details, 30 plus hour details, and there's some overnighters sometimes, I just think back about how much it sucked to move in 98-degree weather, moving furniture up and down stairs, and like, oh, this is a breeze at this point.
Yeah, this isn't so bad.
So bring on more details.
So on a side note, rabbit trail, what's worse, to move in like 98-degree weather with like, I'm sure 100% humidity, or like 2-degree weather with snow all over the place? Or do people not really move during the winter?
They do, but when kids are out of school, the moving industry is a lot busier because they have time off of school. People can really get settled before the kids start a new school season. I would say working in the hot heat is a lot more taxing on your body.
That makes sense. Sure. That makes sense. Sorry, just a tangent.
No. So that also comes into play a lot as well with detailing. Like it could be those hot days you're working in the sun, you don't have any shade. I mean, you have to think about that. Or the wintertime here in Chicago, today it's 40 degrees, but last week it was like 15 degrees. So for the mobile detailing side of things, like that's something we always think about, especially as detailers. What's the weather like?
Part-time weatherman, full-time detailer, part-time weatherman. That's what I tell my clients.
Yeah. We hope they have a nice shaded area or a garage we can work in for sure.
Yep. So
that's kind of how.
Yeah, go ahead. No, sorry, go ahead.
So that's kind of how it evolved. Started doing that dealership stuff, volume. Did both RVs. I really liked doing RVs actually in the beginning, because when you charge by foot, it kind of adds up.
Yeah.
And not to mention RV panels are so flat. And if I didn't have tons of RVs to do, I don't think I'd be so skilled at a rotary buffer. I mean, because you're working in that,
it's a lot of work.
Specific E pattern we talk about on flat surfaces. I got a lot of hours behind the Makita rotary, so I appreciate those times as well.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, so started working on that stuff, and slowly graduated into more higher end vehicles, which then led to the next step of smaller collections and bigger collections.
So I want to break in right there because I want to kind of get in between that. So you're doing the dealership work, and I think it's kind of the key that a lot of people look for, guys and girls. Sorry, girls, I've been leaving you out. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so when you make that decision, or when you start to think about that, right? Like, okay, I want to go after a higher end clientele, and kind of you're working your way more, I guess, niche down, right? Or at least you think you want to go that direction. What are some like practical things that you did to move that way? Did you like rebrand yourself? Did you just start asking around? Did you go to certain like mixers or networking groups or ads, or like what were some things that you did? Did you already know some people and so that helped? Like what did you do to start moving that direction from like dealerships to higher end?
Great question. So I didn't know anybody. come from a really working class.
I was hoping you
family.
didn't, because that was going to kill. If you would have been like, listen, I got like this really rich uncle. He's got like 500 cars. I started with him and his friends. I was going to be like, oh, shoot. As soon as that came out of my mouth, I'm like, please don't be that answer.
No, man. No, it's seriously was just
not that that's bad if that's your reality, by the way. All I'm saying is, for this conversation, I just was hoping there was more meat on the bone.
Yeah, no, I mean, if that uncle is out there that's really rich, please get at me because I have some bills to pay.
Yeah, right, right.
No, one thing I would kind of like to go back when I was building the company, I did a Groupon and a Living Social ad. And I ran it over the 4th of July weekend because I knew there's going to be a lot of people at home and with families, and I was hoping that there would be some word of mouth there. And Groupon, you can actually, Living Social, you can negotiate with them when they want to say, I'll give you this percent or whatever details. So I did that, and I let them know, like, hey, I'm a smaller company. This is mobile work, so I have a lot of expenses involved in there, so I need a little bit more of the percentage to make this work. And we ran the ads, and I kid you not, I sold 200 details in 6 hours. I called them, and I said, hey, we have to stop this because I'm a one-man show, and I'm not going to be able to handle it.
And what was the Groupon deal?
Oh, man, I think it was like $85 was the cost to the consumer, and right. I was like exterior wash, clay, single stage polish. Oh, man. And at that time, I was probably doing a polish, like cleaner wax and one to knock it out, right? And interior detail probably would take me 6 hours. And I would try to do 2 of those. I know. Try to do 2 in a day. But, okay, so I did that, and I thought to myself, I am not making any money. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm killing myself. But what I did have is 200 people that were very interested. Yep. So I saved every single contact I had. I put the contacts at top that might have had multiple cars or had the mom minivans. I know we don't like to do those, but they need our services, right? Yep. So the higher-end cars, the mom minivans, the busy people would be at the top of my list after I completed all those details from Groupon Living Social. Of course, they called me right away. Do you want to do the ad again? I said, no, thank you. But now I'm able to have these contacts, and I can call or email these clients directly and say, hey, I'm running a very similar ad for a small markup. Would you like to have it done again? And these people already knew me, my services, and they're happy with it. And, of course, they said yes. So now I'm not giving the percentage back. Right. Because
Groupon takes what, like 40 or 50%?
I think I got them to like 30%.
Got it. Okay.
But
so you're making like $60 on a crazy detail, pretty much.
I'm making nothing after fuel and product.
Right. But you had it. I like the mindset that you had on it is like, okay, this initial one is going to suck. Right. But, and I think I love that. And I want you to keep talking about it, but I just want to interject for a sec. Like that, I feel like is one of the only true assets that like us detailers have, especially if you're a mobile one-man band like I've been, is like my really like equipment is replaceable and cheap, right? But clients are expensive to get. So really, if you look at it like you weren't making anything, but you weren't losing money. I mean, maybe I guess you could look at it like maybe you were losing a little bit of money, but for 200 clients, probably not, you know?
Yeah.
And you built up a big asset.
Yeah, advertisement cost to get 200 actual clients to book a job, I would be spending way more. And so even if I broke even, let's just say on that, I essentially paid for advertisement without paying for advertisement.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah.
But keep going. That's awesome, yeah.
During the time of doing those 200 details, it didn't seem like there was any light at the end of the tunnel, but
how many? Do you remember what percentage of people you actually ended up doing?
I think at the end of it, and this was years ago, I think I did like 70-some%.
Wow.
And then returning back after that from callbacks, I think out of that 70-some%, we did about 48%.
Wow.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah. It, and that's so I didn't really factor that in because I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now with numbers or have good people behind me to help me with that. But people buy these Groupon and Living Socials and they don't use them. And so you still get paid on it. So
yep.
I didn't factor that in the end profit, but there was quite a few that didn't redeem them. So I made that money without having to do the work.
Yep.
Which was great.
Yep. That's awesome.
So the kind of transition from doing that into finding where the niche was to get into like the collections and everything. I was a big component of having my business card on me at all times. So when I would go to a parking lot or something and I saw a nice car, I wouldn't put it on the windshield because a lot of times people would just drive off and be upset that they had to pull that off. I would actually put it in between the little rubber on the driver door and the windshield. Like, their business cards fit perfectly in there. So when they open their door, they have to grab it out of there. They see it anyways. Now, sometimes I would get calls, sometimes I wouldn't, but any call was a good call at that time. And then I also started calling classic car dealerships because I knew that they have a relationship with collectors, or they want to have a relationship with collectors. And I knew if I focused my time on doing that type of dealerships, I would be able to build my network more for the collector side of things.
Gotcha.
So
love that idea.
Slowly how it started, and oh man, just a lot of praying, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think God knew how He designed me to be, and doing volume just wasn't for me. So over time, it just slowly grew. And
how long
I'm not.
How long did that take, you think? Like, what was that transition? Because per our conversation a couple days ago, I know where you're at now. So I know we're kind of still not quite caught up to where you're at now. Well, kind of. But how long did that transition take from, like, I guess, fleet work or production work, high volume work, to kind of whittle it down to till the niche that got you, like, and do you remember, like, the first collection that you got?
Yeah, so I would say I started in 2004, and the first 6 years was volume, mobile stuff, everything I can get my hands on. And then after that, it slowly progressed into smaller collections, into bigger collections to today. There was a period during that time after the 6 years where I also did interior steam cleaning on semi trucks, because I know I'm kind of going back here, so stop me if I
No, it's good. I love it.
Here in Chicago, I needed to figure out a way to keep my mortgage paid, pay for my kids, my wife, everything. So what am I going to do in the wintertime when I can't do as much mobile work, or dealerships aren't selling as many cars? I noticed that there's a lot of semi-trucks in our area, just because we're in the Midwest. This is a good central point before people head out east or head out west. And I had the connections through the moving company for trucking companies. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I know you guys are only off the road for a little bit. Let's not worry about the exterior. Let's worry about the interior, where they spend most of their life. And I was one of the first people actually to get that Optima steamer. Have you heard of that?
Yep, I have.
So I paid to have that shipped from overseas. It went somewhere, I believe, in California, and then they shipped it to me. And I just remember I was using the heck out of that thing for interiors. And that's not the cleanest job. You think mom vans are bad?
Right. Yeah, you're basically a house cleaner.
Yeah, but that Optimus steamer would just blow stuff out of there.
Yeah. Has a lot of uses too. They're not cheap, but they, and they're kind of loud, but if you're far enough, it comes with a decent sized hose, right? So if you're, I guess they call it a hose. So if you're far enough away from it, you're kind of good to go, right?
Yeah, I ended up selling that years later to a carpet cleaning company or something.
Interesting. Okay.
But it worked because when it was so cold below freezing, I could still work in these semis, and there's diesel trucks, so they have these running all the time. So I'd blast the heat and then just make as much money as I could doing those.
And were you bringing them indoors at all, or were you doing them outside?
No.
Outside.
I would find these big lots that they would park at, not the gas station lots, because the gas station lots, I tried it, they would kick me out right away.
Right.
Insurance reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So right near Chicago O'Hare Airport, a lot of these trucks sit waiting for shipments to come in, so I buy those and just go to work.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So then your private collection side of things started to ramp up as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Smaller side, I would say. At that time, I considered collections like 5 cars that aren't daily drivers.
Got it. Okay.
And just started to build from there. I mean, that's a tight niche group of people, and they talk to their other collector friends, and they know the big whale in the room, the collector with over 100 cars, and slowly your name gets dropped in there. And I remember I would just be writing these reports, and I would just blow these guys away about, okay, this is what I did, this is why this product's good, this is why we use this is my inspection, this is how thick the paint is, and all these things. And I would always be on the internet trying to search up big words to make me sound smarter about how this interior looks. And people just loved it. It showed that I took a lot of time and pride in my work. So just word of mouth grew from there.
And I think that's one important thing too that you just mentioned is like going, and I see it as we transition to, well, I want to talk about kind of some of the collections you have now as much as you can talk about it, but I think it kind of, when you pay that close attention to detail about other people's car, and whether it's measuring the thickness of the paint or just letting them know like, hey, your front tires are wearing weird, or your bumper's hanging off, or your mirror's loose, or whatever the situation may be on the car, but you're informing them, right? You're bringing more value to that customer. That makes you as the detailer a lot more valuable. And I think that question of like, well, how do you charge more and how do you raise your prices and all that really stems back to, people like to say, oh, just bring more value, which to me doesn't really do anything, right? And that's why I asked you that question a little while back, like, how did you what were some practical steps that you did? Because you could say just bring value, and it's like, what? Like, I get it, but I don't get it, and what does that mean? So I like that you mentioned those things too, of like you added value, to use the term that I don't like, but you added value to these guys on something that they care very deeply about, and kind of try to meet them at that level and show them that you care, just as much, and that is, I don't know if you've seen this at that level, but I find it to be rarer and rarer. The longer I'm in business, it's like a lot of people don't care. A lot of service people don't care, right? And it's like, if you just add that little bit of care and show that to the customer, it's like you've won them over for life.
Yeah, and I think besides giving the value and doing all those extra little things with the tires worn or the written up report or documentation, I think where I always started was to find out why this is part of their collection, or not even part of their collection, even if it was somebody's daily driven car. Like, why do you like this car? You'll get to a point where they'll kind of answer what their emotions are tied behind.
Interesting.
Like some guys have that one 69 Mustang that their dad had when they were growing up, or one of my favorites that I'm searching for right now is, the old station wagons where the back seat face the other way.
Love those.
Growing up.
Yep.
Yeah, like
my family had a Volvo.
My grandpa had one. Yeah, I used to fight my cousins for that back seat, and like there's emotional attachment, and I want one of those cars. And so I think when I would first meet a collector or anybody, I would kind of find out why. You know, what's the point behind this car? Where's that emotional attachment?
Yep.
And it puts the value of me caring before the value of my service, which then you create that trust, which is huge.
Yep.
And then you can back it up with service, because if you don't have that trust, you'll never be able to show them what kind of service you have to provide. So that was huge. And I don't say that from like managing a collection standpoint. I say that from like anything, even a dealer standpoint. You could ask the dealership the same thing, you know, and find out what their basic needs are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just getting cars done quicker. Maybe they don't need a full detail. Maybe they just don't want streaks on the window. They want the car clean. They don't want French fries stuck in the used cars between the seats. So that was always a huge question for me, is if I could find out what the emotional value was behind why they have that vehicle.
Yep, because the crazy thing is that it's not always only about price, and that's what seems like people or detailers try to stick with, is like price. It's like, dude, it's not always only about price. Like a lot of times it is, but not always, you know. And if you can kind of wiggle your way into the people that the price is a factor but not like the deciding factor, that's a good place to be. So what is your, kind of bumping it up to now with your detailing, what does a typical collection look like for you? Maybe not in terms of cars, unless that is, but like size and how many of them do you do? And then kind of what's a normal schedule like on that?
So we have a few collections that we take care of that are under 15 cars. Smaller collections, but they're purpose collection. And when I say purpose collection, I mean that these collections are trying to find all the 911s from this era, or all the Corvettes, or something. You know, like it's not just for a collection; it's also for an investment. Because the investment side of things for the collections is skyrocketing like stupid right now. And it has been. And then we have a collection with 150 cars. And the difference between the two is, let's just call it one of the collections 15 cars, that you can really spend time to get things exactly how you want it. Tires off, undercarriage, engine bay, take the seats out, do all that stuff. If it's an original car, we're probably not going to fix everything because we want to preserve it, not restore it per se. But then the collection with 150 cars, that's more what I call dust management. Like, how am I going to keep this stuff presentable? Because I could be working on one car, and I turn around and I'm back next week, and the whole collection is super dusty because I had a delivery, and the back door and the front door was open and created a crazy wind tunnel.
Yep.
So when you deal with like the big collections, I think people think that it's just your nose is to the ground and you're just doing these full crazy Concord details all the time, but it's a dust management job at that point. And you try to do details when you can.
Do you find, I guess it depends on the type of collector, but for the dust management group, do you find that, or maybe just in general, do you find they are as picky about swirls and like micro scratches? Like, do they get in there with a light? Will they look under the light, or do they just kind of want it like looking clean and proper and don't kind of nitpick?
It's both. So it depends. If a car's going to a show or is getting judged, and that's a whole nother topic, because marring and all that stuff, paint that's scratched, what happens if it's an original car and you're really trying to show the history of the vehicle? Is that car going to be perfect and, you know, no scratches on there and no chips, no nothing? Like, no, like that takes away from the story that the judges want to hear when they're judging these cars, depending on, of course, what show you're at.
Sure,
But
right.
I think it really depends. Some of the collectors will want things perfect as possible, and then I always look them straight in the eye and I'm like, do you want the Brad Mills perfect? Because we could be here on a year for this.
Right.
Yeah. You know, or are you looking for it to be shiny? Make sure that it's running properly. I don't do that, but that all the books are in place, that all the old luggage racks that used to come with these pre-war cars are there, kind of thing. So no, I guess it really goes back to the whole, what's the customer / client looking for? So some of them do, and some of them don't.
Gotcha. And so let's get into the Glovebox. I was going to say Glovebox box, but that wouldn't make sense. So you've actually been in it longer than me. You've been in it 14 years detailing now, and so you've transitioned. You've done pretty much every angle of the service side of the industry, right? From like dealerships on up to where you're at now, taking care of collections, right? Whether that be a little collection, which I wish I had 15 cars, so I don't consider that all that little. 100 seems a little daunting, but so when does this idea of having and I think people will like to know that you still do detail, right? So you still got your nose to the ground, ear to the ground, and know what the industry is doing. But where does this idea of like a subscription box of detailing supplies, like when does that idea kind of start to kind of poke its head and you start going down the route of that?
So currently, about a little over a year ago, I'm currently at a collector's car garage, which is a high-end storage facility. So that's my main headquarters, which is great too. I mean, we could go back and talk about how it's good to get into kind of those as far as meeting new collectors. But I was cleaning a vehicle one day in our wash bay, and my friend that I grew up with, Jason, stopped by, and he was just talking to me, hanging out on the weekend. And he said, my wife gets this subscription box called Birchbox, and where they send her sample sizes of makeup. Do they have anything like that for detailing products? He was asking me about what products I was using. And of course, when you ask me, I can't give you a simple answer about products. It turns into 3 hours. So he's like, man, they need to have something for that. And I was like, yeah, they do. And so we searched, found a small one in the UK. In the US, I couldn't find anything that was just detail focused, right? Like,
gotcha.
There's boxes out there that are car focused. I'll give a shout out to Petro Box. They're awesome. We met them at good people for sure, but it's not just detailing.
Right.
So I wanted to be just detailing, and my friend Jason gave the idea, and we're business partners and friends first, and then business partners second.
Nice.
Started this company, and he really gets a lot of the credit. He has a military background. He's a veteran. After he left the military, he went to financial planning, and now he has another full-time gig that he's doing now. But he really is the strategic visionary for this project. I'm just really good at cleaning cars.
And having the backdrops for the boxes, right? I love your guys' Instagram. It's very, very creative.
Thank you. We're learning. We're really only in the first year. We just sent out our 11th box.
Okay.
So Jason and I are really going back to when we were younger, or when I was younger, moving furniture, the hustling days, and doing a lot of that stuff ourselves. And we're learning we kind of have to find people to help us with that.
Yeah.
And in this industry, as you know, it's like, you would think there's a lot of competition, but when you find the purists, right, the people that just want to make the detailing industry better for everybody, like, everybody's like really close.
It's
like,
I call it the industry orgy. It's maybe not a PC, but it's like literally it's everyone is connected to someone else in some way. You just don't always know it,
Even when we talk to like Ian from Auto Fiber.
Yep.
When I talk to Jeff or Anthony or Levi or anybody over at the Rad Company,
yep,
or John, Ian talks great about them. They talk great about Ian. It's like, why wouldn't we all be friends? Because when we're younger, we want to hang out with people. For me, I like baseball. So me and Jason hung out because we both love baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't we hang out with people that love detailing? Like, it's not a competition thing, but
100%.
So yeah.
Yep. And it's interesting, just a note on that. It seems like because there's so many like feuds that happen in the detailing industry that you see online, right? But like when you actually, like Seam is a good example, right? And you start to learn, as I'm sure you have, like the real movers and shakers of the industry is an even tighter niche, and like they all pretty much get along. Like there's no one that there's really no beefs, because sometimes they need to lean on each other, right? So for whatever they need to get done, maybe they just need a shipment or a supplier, or this or that, or hey, how do you what machine do you use to wrap boxes on a pallet? Like there's a lot of logistical things and different things other than just the product itself that go into these things, so a lot of those brands will lean on each other, and it's really, really cool to see, because sometimes it gets so bogged down with just these stupid Facebook feuds, Yeah.
And if you don't mind, just to circle back to Glovebox, kind of off that topic, like that is really one of the major points that we want to put across, and why we started Glovebox is there is so many feuds about this product or that product, or not even coming from manufacturers, coming from the weekend warriors or the detail specialists. People form these opinions without having proper knowledge.
Yep.
And when I say proper knowledge, I'm not talking about talking to a chemist. I'm talking about that's important too, actually, talking to a chemist. But I'm talking about just using the product. Like, okay, if you want to make a claim on a product that you say that sucks, but you were working in your heated garage on a car that's normally maintained, and you didn't see any results from this product that you quote unquote tested, like, you have to be able to try a bunch of things and kind of have an open mind about it. Like, okay, maybe I'm taking care of collections, but when I was doing mobile stuff, this would have been awesome working in direct sunlight.
Right.
So Glovebox that's really what we want to do, is let people form their own opinions, and knowledgeable opinions, by trying the stuff out themselves to see what works well for them. And it's kind of hard to do that when you want to buy like full size, like I see you do on the cheap versus expensive, which I love. And I'm like, man, poor Jimbo is buying these full size things,
dude. And
like,
anyway, because I was just gonna say, then I end up with like, I use 2 sprays of something, and so I have, most times I actually try to use something a few times on my own truck or a client's car to get kind of like a general feel for it. But even then, it's like I use 2 ounces of this like 32-ounce bottle. Like, okay,
and that gets expensive. So that all played a part in what we wanted to offer this box for, and what size samples we wanted to get in the hands of everybody.
Yep.
And I also, really quick, on your YouTube channel, I noticed that there'll be people that will jump in and have pretty strong opinions about this is how the manufacturer said to use it. And we talk to a lot of manufacturers, and they spend a ton of money on testing products and how they should use it. And then they spend a ton of money on marketing. So we have to give them props because they brought it to market. But I was with Mike Phillips, and he said, you always have to tell that the manufacturer recommends it this way. And that word right there, recommend, is key. Like, they recommend it. But do I always have to spray iron decon on the rim without spraying water first?
Right.
No, like I could rinse off the tire and then spray it on. Yeah, some of the products can get into the water bead itself, but I feel more comfortable rinsing first. So when I see that on your YouTube channel, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, he's giving another perspective about this, and you're saying that this is the only way. It can't be true. There can't be one way to do something.
And sometimes, too, it's like, well, there's so many factors that go into, like, even that, taking your example of, like, the rim, right? Like, well, yeah, and I can't, like, is the rim hot? Is it cold? Do I need to tell them, like, how long it's been sitting for so they don't think the rim's hot? You know, because it's like, yeah, if the rim's hot, you should probably rinse it with water, right? Like, cool it down so you don't mess anything up. But it's like, if I tried to explain every single, like, opposition in the video would never get done, right? So there's, like, a lot of things I just leave out because I'm like, well, I know I'm going to get heat for that, but whatever. You know, like, it is what it is. I can't, because then you have a 13-minute video and it's like, you blab too much. This took too long. This should be a 3-minute video. And it's like, oh man, if it was a 3-minute video, you would complain that I didn't cover everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
You're in my head right now. My struggle for, we do these YouTube videos kind of back up what we put in the box. And I say the word pretty strongly. This is our suggestion.
Right.
Like, this is what I suggest.
But then here's the thing too. Yeah, and here's the thing too, that it's like, I was talking with Scott from Dallas Paint Correction, and he goes, like, a while back when I had, like, no subscribers, he's like, you're not controversial enough. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not really, like, a controversial guy, you know? So I don't really, like, I don't like reading all these comments, but, like, so if you're not controversial, no one sees your stuff. You're controversial, people see your stuff, but then you get a bunch of hate, and then you got to deal with that, right? So it's like a double-edged sword. It sucks.
I know. And oh man, I'm this is a good topic right now for everybody here. Like, I'm having a really hard time with the YouTube thing. I know you need to stay relevant with the content as much as possible, especially for younger generation that wants shorter, quicker videos, and the sound's perfect and there's cool music and everything like that. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I could do that. But then I start doing it, and I'm like, well, if I don't say this, somebody's going to call me out on it, and then they're not going to believe that I really detail 6 days a week. They're going to think I just have a face throwing stuff in this box. And I'm like, it's funny because I talked to Matt Mormon from Obsessed Garage, and he told me, you just have to put yourself out there. And I'm like, man, this guy's putting out hour-long videos, and people are watching it. Like,
because you find just like you've done with your detailing business, and trust me, I'm no YouTube expert at all, like, far from it. But you start, I think, like what Matt has done is you find your niche, right? But in a weird way, like, you have to let them find you. Like, you find them, but they find you at the same time. You know, it's weird, but that's I laugh at a lot of these comments too, because I'm like, you guys don't understand how difficult these videos are. You know, like, and you really don't make any money at it. It's like, so I'm putting out a video, like, for free for everyone to criticize and critique and judge, right? That I had to work up enough courage to even do, you know, only to get crappy comments. But that's how it goes. I digress. But Glovebox.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, and I can't remember, and every time we have a conversation about it, I try to remember the names of some subscription boxes that I thought, like, I subscribed to one before, I just don't remember what it was. So when we met and he said, oh, I'll send you some boxes, I was like, cool. And I was a little skeptical, especially because honestly, I'm just not a huge fan of, like, well, because of my previous experience with subscription boxes relating to detailing stuff. It's like, the one box I got had, like, a glass cleaner, and it was like, this is fine, but, like, it's really difficult to use out of a little sprayer. And how do I get, like, a good, like, I don't know. Anyway, so, but, and it came in, like, the USPS flat rate box, and, like, just wasn't, didn't have that attention to detail. How about that, right? And so I was excited to get the Glovebox box, but I was kind of skeptical, and you sent me two of them. I think it was your previous box and then current box. And I'll tell you, and I'm not just blowing wind up your skirt. Like, I think because what I thought it was going to be like kind of half-assed. And I was, like, literally blown away. That they are sample sizes, most of the stuff. I think most of the stuff, but it seemed like, I don't know, they seemed a little bit bigger than sample size. But just the attention to detail, everything from the box it came in to the wrapping paper or shred, I don't know what you call that stuff, that was in it, that was themed to the month and the holidays of that month, to the sticker, like the Glovebox sticker that you had in it, to like the wording on the bottom of the box inside, that I'm like, would anyone even see this? But that's so cool that it's there. And so just like, props to you for really taking that. And then I thought like, wow, this actually makes so much sense that they're so detail oriented with it, because it's going to detailers. Right. You know, like, and I just thought like, man, they've really, this isn't something that they just like get free samples from the manufacturer, throw it in a flat rate box and then send it out and charge everyone per month. And like, they make money on it. It's like, no, this was really, really thought out. Like, I felt like there was no stone unturned.
We appreciate that for sure. And again, I just go back to my business partner friend, Jason. I think that military background and just his personality was just thinking so far ahead. And me with my background in detailing, like, yes, that's like our saying, detail matters. And we try to cover all those bases. And we thought, well, we could save some money if we throw it in, the USPS box where I don't know what it's called, if it fits, it ships, for cheaper. But it took away from the experience of actually getting the glove box itself that has our logo on it. That's who we are. It has our social media stuff. It has little sayings. It's, like curated products for car people. It has on there, driver's most important items are kept in the glove box. And then that hidden little one that you said at the bottom. But to kind of walk the listeners through it, when they get this box, the glove box, you open it up and you remove back the paper, and there's always going to be an insert card in there. On the insert card, it's going to different themes, of course. But we break down on one side all the products that are in the box, and then under that we'll also have the company's website. So say Sonax, for instance, or Wizards, or somebody new. They'll have their link to their website, and then a special for, I would say, 90% of the manufacturer, they'll have a special glove box discount, where if somebody likes that and they want to go and buy full size, they can go directly to them. And for being a loyal subscriber, they get a special discount off of that. So then they get past the insert card, they move the tissue paper away. High five to myself, because I thought of that red green tissue paper for Christmas.
That was a nice, but that's a nice touch. I'm like, wow, and it wasn't like, well, I guess you could have gone blue and white if you wanted, but like, yeah. I was like, wow, that's a really, like, I don't know. It just seemed very thoughtful.
The details, man. No
the
pun
details
intended.
matter.
Well, yes, yeah. And we actually got a lot of heat in the beginning, but we listened. Like, consumers will tell you what they want if you 100%. Just listen. Instead of thinking it's complaining, if you just listen, you'll get a good feedback. Like, a lot of people use shredded paper in the beginning, which looked really cool when you open the box. What if you have a microfiber towel in there? I mean, it's getting caught in the fibers, and the shredded paper gets everywhere. And most of us are pretty organized people and don't want that all over their garage, shop, or their kitchen. So we removed it, and that's when we went to the tissue paper. So insert card, past the tissue paper, and then that's where the heart of the box is, the products. So like you said, the window cleaner or something. I'm not going to curate the box where I put a window cleaner in there and I don't give you a glass towel to try out. So everything works together. November's was kind of engine bay focused. The citrus degreaser from Jack's Wax. We had a product from 303. We had a little two-sided brush, gloves, of course, to keep your hands clean, a towel from the Rad Company. And then, but these products also will work on not just the engine bay. So we want things to be able to use on all parts of your car if you need to. I shouldn't say all parts of your car, but the reason I say that is because there's a lot of Tesla owners out there. I don't know if you've been seeing this lately, but Tesla Model 3s are coming out of our ears.
Yep.
So I couldn't just make it about engines.
Right. Good point. Yeah. Good point.
So I had to think about that.
Yeah.
But to go back to it, everything works together. Like if I'm going to give you what I like to do if I put a paste wax or something on a car, I like to sometimes remove that with a spray wax because it makes it easier to remove. So I kind of incorporate it in ways that have worked for me throughout the years, whether it be mobile detailing or collection detailing or my own cars at home. So everything works together. You open it up, you love the product, you go to the manufacturer, buy full size, everybody's a winner.
Yep. I love that. And where do you see kind of that going? Do you just see like Glovebox growing? Do you see that slowly becoming your full-time thing? Maybe is it where you want to see it? Like, are you happy with where it's at? Or do you, I don't know. Not to say, I'm not trying to, when that came out, it seemed like, well, it's pretty small, right? I didn't mean to, I'm not trying to demean it at all. I think it's amazing.
Oh, no.
And I think your Instagram, I think it's so cool. That was another thing. It was like, okay, I'm going to go, and I think I'm going to go off on a little tangent right now because I think you are leading the charge, helping to lead the charge in this. I feel like, and I saw this at SEMA too, the detailing industry for a long time has been very mom and pop, from everything down from the people, right, to the branding and the visuals of any products or brands, right? And I think we've had like the Mothers or the McGuire's or kind of the staple brands do a good job with like their branding and marketing and visuals, but then like the kind of fringe smaller brands haven't been as strong in that, probably because it's expensive and you got to have an eye for it and all that. But I really feel like when I got your box and then when I checked out your Instagram, I'm like, dang it, these guys are freaking nailing it. And like on seemingly all aspects, right? Even down to the card, like you talked about in the box, it's branded well. Your logo's nice. Not that I'm an expert in any of that, but I just feel like our industry is kind of moving into this stage of like taking it, I guess it would be like taking it a little bit more serious, especially from like a branding and visual standpoint. And I feel like you guys are really, really doing a great job in that. I forget why I wanted to say that, but maybe just another compliment. I don't know. So yeah,
thanks, man.
That is what it is.
We definitely we appreciate it. I mean, it's like I tell my son, it's not everything you see on social media. Behind the scenes is not as pretty as it may seem. A lot of work.
I'm sure it's got to be a total nightmare.
Oh my gosh, it is. The month, you don't realize how fast the month goes by until you own a monthly subscription.
100%. Yeah.
Holy cow, it's crazy.
You constantly have to be thinking about it.
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
And I know that this is just the beginning. We want this to be forever, and I will never stop detailing. Like, Glovebox is just part of my career now, just like detailing is. I truly, honestly need the detail therapy in my life. I just need it. I look for it all the time. So I'll never stop detailing because really it saved me.
Yep.
So when Glovebox, when you ask where do I see that going to, I mean, we want to reach as many people as possible because this is really, we want to bring it back to where everybody has a voice and an opinion, not just the manufacturers. And we don't want things to be clouded by great marketing because there's a lot of companies out there that do really, really good marketing. And I give it to them because I don't even know how to check my email sometimes. So these guys know what's up.
Right.
And but that sometimes can be diluted, and we could talk about products being diluted, but that is really diluted when you see all these crazy marketing tips and people buy this product and it's not doing what it should.
Right.
But maybe for somebody it is. So that's why we kind of want to, you just go to AutoZone or any auto parts store. Like a normal person walking in there, like I'm going to clean my car, I'm going to buy some stuff, like they will lose their mind. Like it's crazy. So we're trying to be the voice of reason here and let everybody actually try this stuff out without breaking the bank, right? Like get sample sizes. I'll think of ways that this stuff works together so you're not without and see what you like.
And I love it. And for those listening, if you buy by the year, you can get it as low as about right under $21 a month. If you want to pick it up by the month, it's about $25, $24.99. So with an approximate value of $50. So you're and like Brad said, I mean, you're saving money in the sense that you're getting to try what I'm looking at this one box in the picture, and you got 4, 5, 6, 7 liquids. It looks like, with a towel, and maybe a couple applicators. So to me, that's like a substantial box, right? That's obviously not every month, but to give you an idea, you're getting to try 6 different liquids, a towel, some applicator. It's insane. I buy like one bottle of something and it's $30, so.
Well, we say 4 to 6 products a month. And if people don't like this mystery surprise box every month, they can go on our store, buy pass boxes, or they can do what we call BYOB, build your own box and choose your own.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. All right, man. So if people want to check out Glovebox, how about that? They want to maybe sign up for your monthly subscription or whatever, or they just want to follow you on Instagram or whatever. How can they do that?
Across the board, it's Glovebox Detail. So for all social media, and then of course gloveboxdetail.com to subscribe, learn a little bit more about us, learn about my story, and check out everything that we have to offer.
Awesome, man. And I appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to kind of do this and share your story with everyone that listens to the podcast.
Thanks, Jimbo. I appreciate it.